You're here to find clients? Myron narrowed his eyes. How do you know I'm not here to witness the enthralling spectacle of grown men taking a walk? The old man did not smile, but then again, golfers were not known for their sense of humor. He craned his neck again and moved closer. His whisper was hoarse. "Do you know the name Jack Coldren?" he asked. "Sure," Myron said. If the old man had asked the same question yesterday, Myron wouldn't have had a clue. He didn't follow golf that closely, or at all, and Jack Coldren had been little more than a journeyman over the past 20 years or so. But Coldren had been the surprise leader after the U.S. Open's first day, and now, with just a few holes remaining in the second round, Coldren was up by a commanding 8 strokes. What about him? "And Linda Coldren?" the man asked. "Do you know who she is?" This one was easier. Linda Coldren was Jack's wife, and far and away the top female golfer of the past decade. "Yeah, I know who she is," Myron said. The man leaned in closer and did the neck thing again. Seriously annoying, not to mention contagious. Myron found himself fighting off the desire to mimic the movement. "They're in deep trouble," the old man whispered. "If you help them, you'll have 2 new clients." "What sort of trouble?" The old man looked around. "Please," he said, "there are too many people. Come with me." Myron shrugged. No reason not to go. The old man was the only lead he'd unearthed since his friend and business associate, Windsor Horn Lockwood III, Win for short, had dragged his sorry butt down here. Being that the U.S. Open was at Marion, home course of the Lockwood family for something like 1 billion years, Win had felt it would be a great opportunity for Myron to land a few choice clients. Myron wasn't quite so sure. As near as he could tell, the major component separating him from the hordes of other locust-like agents swarming the green meadows of Marion Golf Club was his naked aversion for golf, probably not a key selling point to the faithful. Myron Bolitar ran MB Sports Reps, a sports representation firm located on Park Avenue in New York City. He rented the space from his former college roommate, Win, a waspy, old-money, big-time investment banker whose family owned Lockhorn Securities on the same Park Avenue in New York. Myron handled the negotiations while Win, one of the country's most respected brokers, handled the investments and finances. The other member of the MB team, Esperanza Diaz, handled everything else. 3 branches with checks and balances, just like the American government. Very patriotic. Slogan, MB Sports Reps. The other guys are commie pinkos. As the old man ushered Myron through the crowd, several men in green blazers, another look sported mostly at golf courses, perhaps to camouflage oneself against the grass, greeted him with whispered, "How do, Bucky?" or "Looking good, Buckster," or "Fine day for golf, Buckaroo." They all had the accent of the rich and preppy, the kind of inflection where mommy is pronounced mummy, and summer and winter are verbs. Myron was about to comment on a grown man being called Bucky, but when your name is Myron, well, glass houses and stones and all that. Like every other sporting event in the free world, the actual playing area looked more like a giant billboard than a field of competition. The leaderboard was sponsored by IBM. Canon handed out the periscopes. American Airlines employees worked the food stands. An airline handling food. Which think tank came up with that one? Corporate Row was jam-packed with companies who shelled out over $100,000 a pop to set up a tent for a few days, mostly so that company executives had an excuse to go. Travelers Group, Mass Mutual, Aetna, golfers must like insurance, Canon, Hubline. Hubline? What the hell was a Hubline? They looked like a nice company. Myron would probably buy a Hubline if he knew what one was. The funny thing was, the U.S. Open was actually less commercialized than most tourneys. At least they hadn't sold their name yet. Other tournaments were named for sponsors, and the names had gotten a little silly. Who could get up for winning the J.C. Penney Open, or the Michelob Open, or the Wendy's 3-Tour Challenge? The old man led him to a primo parking lot, Mercedeses, Caddies, limos. Myron spotted Wynn's Jaguar. The USGA had recently put up a sign that read, "Members parking only." Myron said, "You're a member of Marion?" Dr. Deduction. The old man twisted the neck thing into something approaching a nod. "My family dates back to Marion's inception," he said. the snooty accent now more pronounced. "Just like your friend Wynne." Myron stopped and looked at the man. "You know Wynne?" The old man sort of smiled and shrugged. No commitment. "You haven't told me your name yet," Myron said. "Stone Buckwell," he said, hand extended. "Everyone calls me Bucky." Myron shook the hand. "I'm also Linda Coldren's father," he added. Bucky unlocked a sky-blue Cadillac, and they slid inside. He put the key in the ignition. The radio played Muzak. Worse, the Muzak version of "Raindrops Keep Falling on My Head." Myron quickly opened the window for air, not to mention noise. Only members were allowed to park on the Marion grounds, so it wasn't too much of a hassle getting out. They made a right at the end of the driveway, and then another right. Bucky mercifully flipped off the radio. Myron stuck his head back in the car. "What do you know about my daughter and her husband?" Bucky asked. "Not much." "You're not a golf fan, are you, Mr. Bolitar?" "Not really." "Golf is truly a magnificent sport," he said. Then he added, "though the word sport does not begin to do it justice." "Uh-huh," Myron said. "It's the game of princes." Buckwell's ruddy face glowed a bit now, the eyes wide with the same type of rapture one saw in the very religious. His voice was low and awed. "There is nothing quite like it, you know. You alone against the course, no excuses, no teammate, no bad calls. It's the purest of activities." "Uh-huh," Myron said again. "Look, I don't want to appear rude, Mr. Buckwell, but what's this all about?" "Please call me Bucky." "Okay, Bucky." He nodded his approval. "I understand that you and Windsor Lockwood are more than business associates," he said. "Meaning?" "I understand you two go back a long way. College roommates, am I correct?" "Why do you keep asking about Wynne?" "I actually came to the club to find him," Bucky said. "But I think it's better this way." "What way?" "Talking to you first. Maybe after... well, we'll see. Shouldn't hope for too much." Myron nodded. "I have no idea what you're talking about." Bucky turned onto a road adjacent to the course called Golf House Road. Golfers were so creative. The course was on the right, imposing mansions on the left. A minute later, Bucky pulled into a circular driveway. The house was fairly big and made of something called river rock. River rock was big in this area, though Wynne always referred to it as mainline stone. There was a white fence and lots of tulips and 2 maple trees, one on each side of the front walk. A large porch was enclosed on the right side. The car came to a stop, and for a moment neither of them moved. "What's this all about, Mr. Buckwell?" "We have a situation here," he said. "What kind of situation?" "I'd rather let my daughter explain it to you." He grabbed the key out of the ignition and reached for the door. "Why come to me?" Myron asked. "We were told you could possibly help." "Who told you that?" Buckwell started rolling his neck with greater fervor. His head looked like it had been attached by a loose ball socket. When he finally got it under control, he managed to look Myron in the eyes. "Wynne's mother," he said. Myron stiffened. His heart plummeted down a dark shaft. He opened his mouth, closed it, waited. Buckwell got out of the car and headed for the door. 10 seconds later, Myron followed. "Wynne won't help," Myron said. Buckwell nodded. "That's why I came to you first." They followed a brick path to a door slightly ajar. Buckwell pushed it open. "Linda?" Linda Coldren stood before a television in the den. Her white shorts and sleeveless yellow blouse revealed the lithe, toned limbs of an athlete. She was tall, with short, spunky black hair and a tan that accentuated the smooth, long muscles. The lines around her eyes and mouth placed her in her late 30s, and he could see instantly why she was a commercial darling. There was a fierce splendor to this woman, a beauty derived from a sense of strength rather than delicacy. She was watching the tournament on the television. On top of the set were framed family photographs. Big pillowy couches formed a V in one corner. Tactfully furnished, for a golfer, no putting green, astroturf carpet, none of that golf artwork that seemed a step or two below the aesthetic class of, say, paintings of dogs playing poker. No cap with a tee and ball on the brim hanging from a moose head. Linda Coldren suddenly swung her line of vision toward them.